Prosperity in Black America. What will this require? Is Black business prospering? Are we reaching women and minority-owned businesses? How do we achieve earning parity for wealth for our families? Do our children really have access to education? Will our families have choices for our children? Prison pipelines, mass incarceration, tearing our families apart. A healthcare system not accessible to the masses. The disproportionate termination of Black women from corporate America. When will we actually begin to address what's really at play? How do Black people gain more power to help make these changes? This requires a lot of political will and courage. I'm that provocateur of change. I am Cindi Bright. Welcome to HeartBeat.
Welcome to HeartBeat. Thank you for joining this evening. As I make my intro comments, I'm going to bring Aaron Jones in with me while I make the comments here, because I just kind of want to do this together tonight. You know, Aaron and I decided that we would come on air this evening to talk about the day after, despite the fact that in Aaron's life, she's dealing with a lot of issues right now. And I am on a health basis, but we are feeling the way I think many people are. And we had an option to just go, let's just bag the show tonight and not talk about it. But then we thought that it's healthy for us as a community to talk about how we feel and to be able to process what's happening right now, both here in Washington State and in the country. Many people have been reaching out and asking questions about what's next, and I don't think anybody has answers for that right now. I think we're all not in a bit of shock, but just in a place of we had hoped for better. We had hoped that since the last election that we would have progressed more in the thinking of the kind of person we wanted to lead this country, and clearly, by the data, that has not happened. And so the majority of the country has spoken about what they want in a president, despite everything they've seen: sexist, rapist, misogynist, convicted felon, doing lewd things with the microphone. You name it. He's raped women. Like, you name it, this man has done it. And now he's not going to be accountable. And the prosecutor who was in charge of his case is pulling back. Nothing's going to happen. And now we have to live with the consequences of this election. But here's what I think is different. And this is where I want to introduce the show tonight. Watching, I went on TikTok early this morning, and it was flooded with Black women who are basically saying, y'all are on your own now. Black women have been the people who have been the ones at the forefront. When things are happening, we're mobilizing, we are acting, we are marching, we are doing everything we can for our communities and for all people, not just the Black community. We've been doing things to make sure that every one of us is taken care of, is provided for. And yet, no one had our back in this election. And so here we are this evening, Aaron, with no presumed outcome or agenda. I wanted to be able to give an opportunity to you, me, and audience who's joined. I see quite a few people have joined this call, to be able to talk and process about how we're all feeling tonight and what we think. What are we thinking? How should we be thinking going forward? How's my sister doing tonight? First off, I know you have so much happening in your life right now that the last thing you needed was another 4 years of listening to Donald Trump.
Well, for those who know me, you probably already know because I've shared this on social media, but my husband's mother is dying. So we've been in hospice with her for the last almost 3 weeks now. She went into hospice on Friday, and 3 weeks ago on Friday. And so I've been sitting 10 to 12 hours every day watching someone die. And there's nothing like that and at the same time watching my vision for what's possible in America die too.
Mhm.
And so I think, like you, it was not surprising that Kamala didn't win, but it was surprising how decisively he won. I think that was
Mhm.
the thing for me that was so shocking. Um, I was listening to, there's a little boy who, he looks like he's about 12, who has a TikTok. And he was sharing this morning. He shares prayers every morning and just words of affirmation every morning. You've probably seen him. But people sent me his message all day today. So I think I saw his message 5 times today. And what he said is, it's so hard as a young Black boy to hear my mother and my teachers tell me to not lie and not steal and to be kind. And yet you all chose, 70, however many millions of people chose a liar and a thief and a criminal. And he said it's really hard as a Black boy to see this person be selected when we're told this is not how we're supposed to behave. And I listened to him and I thought about all the children that I've had the opportunity to teach over the years, and all the Black men that I've gotten to coach in basketball. I spent more time coaching Black men than I did coaching girls, and all the ways that we hold our boys accountable. You and I both have sons, and we hold them to this really high standard because the way the world sees them, there's no way they can get out of line even a little bit without being held accountable. And yet the leader of our nation, can get away with crimes that he's not even going to be held accountable for. So there are the crimes that he has already been, the 34 felonies and the sexual assault, but all the other crimes that he's not even been prosecuted for yet, he's going to get away with. And that to me it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. I don't even know how, first off, thank you to all those people who have joined and are still joining. We'd love to hear from you. I'm seeing some of the comments about how you are also feeling today, because not only is the hypocrisy, it's crazy, it's so true. We still, as a community, as brown and Black people, cannot behave in that manner without open shooting happening to us. And here we are. One woman said today on a TikTok, and it's just something to hear, but she was looking at the numbers broken out of who voted for him. And so predictably, we had this huge group of, the same white women who come forward and continue to support him. How that, for the life of me, cannot process a woman voting for him. I just, what must you be like inside to vote that kind of vile crap into an elected office? Like, who must you be at your core to do something like that? But this one woman said, okay, for you brothers, for you Black men who didn't support Black women, now that there's qualified immunity, don't, when y'all get shot dead in the street, don't come this way. Like, they're saying, Black women are saying, we're not doing it anymore. We are done holding everything up. We had a presidential candidate who was beyond qualified, who exemplified everything we need to have in a leader. And because she's a woman and because she's Black, those two things are enough. It's what we've all been saying. Every Black woman's been saying it. Have we not? Have we been saying that? Joy, we are tired. We have
Yeah.
been the people holding it down, right? Now it's like, are we even correct? Obama
Yeah.
would be in jail if anything like this. And so, to watch this guy gloat today and is pulling his cabinet together. I mean, we're in for it, because you got Robert F. Kennedy, who's got a brain problem, and
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, and telling us all that we're going to have to live with. I mean, what they're doing is exemplifying or wanting more money. White men cannot not have everything. And so the way that they know how to get it isn't to earn it, it is to take it. And so they will destroy other people to be able to have it. And history has proven that. This is just not my opinion. If you do any history work, you'll understand how they've built their wealth, and it's on the backs of brown and Black people. So now here we are, Black women are saying, enough is enough. We're exhausted of this, and we're not going to be the people anymore. It's time for self-preservation. What are your thoughts about that?
Um, yeah, I think we have to be really careful where we spend our energy. And the reality is, I mean, I was in Canada for 2 days speaking at a firefighters conference, and um, they were just blown away. Every firefighter I talked to said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're in America. Like right now, I don't understand what's happening there. It's wild. Are you going to be safe?" And the
Mm,
reality is for us, like I'm 6 feet tall with a big afro. I'm not going to get smaller. And even if I had straight hair, like I'm just never going to be small and invisible. So I am a target. I know that, both of us have done diversity, equity, and inclusion work. They've been really clear with Project 25 and Agenda 47. They want to terminate all EDI work
yep.
in government agencies and any other agencies that get government resources. So as we have always had to do, we are going to have to pivot, right? And
Mhm.
so I think for me, the one thing that keeps me sane, and I have not cried yet today, but part of that is I'm just so exhausted. I don't have enough energy to cry today. The one thing that keeps me is my faith and just trusting that, I thought 2020 was going to kill me. When I lost my election, I thought that was going to destroy me, and neither one has. And so I will continue to fight for the things that I believe in. I will continue to advocate, and I may have to be sneaky about how I advocate. Okay, I'm a ball player. Like I know how to be sneaky if I have to be. And I'm still going to live within my integrity, but I will continue to fight for our children. I will continue to fight for especially Black and brown and immigrant children, our trans and queer youth. I will fight in whatever ways I can for them. But my faith is the thing that's keeping my head up today. And just as I think about my mother-in-law, I just did a TikTok video about this. She's 82 years old. She integrated Franklin Pierce High School in the Tacoma area. Um, she is a woman of faith, and I think about, I'm so glad that she is passing right now. I'm glad that she will not have to be alive to see this.
Mhm.
She grew up in a time where she has really, her best friend, who's a white woman, a white Christian woman, came by to see her today. And I thought, you know what? I'm glad that she got to live in a time where she was well loved by white and Black, where she had a really amazing father who took a train after World War II. Somebody told him as a Black man he could buy property in Washington State, and he got on a train and took a train from North Carolina all the way across to Washington State after World War II. Was one of the first Black landowners in Tacoma. And I think about my mother-in-law and what she would say to me in this moment. And she would say, Erin, keep your head up and keep fighting with love. Don't allow their hate to make you hateful. And I'm trying to channel that. It's really hard today. It's really hard to not be angry. It's really hard. I am disappointed and I'm really sad.
Mhm.
Um, but I refuse to let myself hate. It'd be really easy to do that right now, but I just refuse. As I sit with her today, I just was constantly reminded, what would mom say? And I'm
Mhm.
trying to channel that love right now.
Well, I feel a little different, Aaron. I feel a couple things. Uh, Being a woman of faith, I am taking the kind of Medea stance right now, which is Medea saying, we're supposed to pray, to call on God, but I need God to be getting some people right now. So I feel that way too. Like
Yeah,
how much must one people endure? So that feels a little off center to me. And the
yeah.
other is, it's not that I don't want to continue to fight, but I think we need to fight different. And
Yes,
so,
I agree.
um, you know, I, I'm not about to. Let me just say it this way. Michelle's laughing at my Medea comment there. But don't you don't we got to get Medea or Madam. Does anybody know who Madam is on on oh God, I can't remember the name of the show right now, but Madam
Yeah.
shows up with her Glock and she takes care of shit, right? Like sometimes you just want to have to
Yeah.
deal with these folks. But I think this that I don't think we can come out of the chute with all of this with trying to have the same strategies. You've heard me talk about this before in some different contexts, but I think one of the things I would say is okay, they're not going to, let me just talk about the DEI stuff for now, okay? They're not going to fund any of it, right?
Right.
And when you look at the typical things that we have fought for inside of organizations, whether it be the state or education or all that, we come at it the same way, which is trying to educate people about history, the past, we kind of have a way that we go about doing all that. And yet the output of that has been very little to no movement in it. And so, how about, we start to think about, because they had to do this back in the 20s, I believe, that we start to build our own stuff. And so, saying that different, um, maybe it's time that, the collective community of Black women um, pivot and that we begin to collectively understand what each other's strengths are. Erin can teach, K through 5 classes, and we can have Erin and her team responsible for this. And we take those students from across the country and get them registered. And Erin and her team becomes the people who help our children get educated. Maybe the person who um reading, I mean, I don't know what the issues are, but instead of trying, because they're not going to give government funding for any of it, so we're going to have to build it for our own kids and our own futures. And then the other thing is that we got to stop spending our money with these folks, because you can't have our money if you don't have us. And so I think we've got to just stop spending in these places, because Elon Musk is warning us that tragedy is going to happen, that we're going to have to
Hmm.
suffer for a while. That is a white man's way of saying, my billions of dollars that I have is not enough. I want more.
Yep.
And so to hell with the rest of you. I'm going to make you suffer while I do this so that I can get all of this. So because there's never enough, they're never satisfied. My long-winded way of saying, I just think we got to think different. And I don't think the same, trying to go after these organizations to do right. I don't have faith in it. I don't
Yeah.
know. What does some of the audience think? I'm pulling up some of the comments. We need to feel free, but we can't fall for the same old, yep.
Yeah, we're
Um,
gonna have to be really wise. We're gonna have to be really wise. So I have
mhm,
a friend, Bonita Lee, who has an organization that she started about a year ago in Tacoma, and it's a Black business collective. And so she convenes the group once a month, and it's different Black business owners. So some
mhm,
are have legal expertise, some are
mhm,
chefs, some are
mhm,
clothing designers, and
mhm.
the whole purpose is how do
That
we spend money within
correct.
our own community,
Our
and that's
own,
the whole point.
right.
Yeah, so there are
It's
people that have
exactly.
started this.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly how I think we should be thinking. Next week, we have coming on the show, I haven't told you this yet, but I have a woman coming on. She's on TikTok, and her handle is Black and Bougie. And what she's done,
Oh
have you
yes.
seen her?
Hmm. Hmm.
So she has started and promoted a Black women's retreat, and she's been scaling it across the country. And she has these fabulous outings and these collective ways of bringing Black women together in its community, so that we have safe spaces to have dinner. And,
Hmm.
you know, the thing that I think not all communities understand about Black women and Black communities is that we're not greedy people. Like, we don't have to, there are things that are important to us, our faith, being able to sit down and have dinner with my friends at nighttime. I mean, I do have to have a certain type of wine. I know y'all all know that about me and my wine, but what I'm saying is that we don't have to have $1 billion to be happy. It's not stuff that makes you happy. It's relationships and love and those sorts of things that I believe we've got to start to emphasize and build. And the other thing I would say is that we like to, and I'm going to talk to it about here in Seattle, we like to say we're, as Black people, that we're a collective community, but in fact we aren't. We don't support each other. We, in many instances, are smiling in her face and have a knife in her back at the same time. And the scraps that get allocated through government contracts or state, whatever that is, select people have access to it, but we don't share with other people and help other people to be successful. That has to change because we've got 4 years of him and we need to have a way to survive that time. We've got to be able to do this.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I think I also want to bring this out. This is more than 4 years. And this is something that I talked to. My daughter was with me in hospice today. And so we were talking a lot about there's the executive branch, but then what's going to also happen is we will have Supreme Court justices replaced as well. The older ones will be replaced with younger conservative justices. We have a Senate now that is Republican. And so I think we need to have a 20-year plan. I think we need to have a bigger than a 4-year plan and really think about a more long-term plan for how do we support one another and how do we, I love that, Lisa. I love that build allyship.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the challenge too with allyship. And I know, Cindi, you were trying to say this at the beginning. There are people that we thought were our allies.
Mm-hmm.
That it turns out we're not our allies. And,
Mm-hmm.
when we go back to the women's rights movement, the women's suffrage movement, they were Black women that were a part of the women's suffrage movement in the beginning. But white women were willing to sell out Black women in order to get the vote. And so, I mean, here's the unfortunate truth. You and I both have really great white friends. My parents are two white people, so I am not somebody that naturally distrusts white people. And
Here's one.
I am also learning though. That we have to be careful. And as you know, in my election, the knife that was in my back was the most progressive white women were the ones that had their knives in my back. And so I think white women right now are going to have to demonstrate that they are truly allies.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Let me just comment. Thank you all for participating in this tonight. This shows how much this all matters to us as women. And Erin's point is right on. It's very easy. I mean, I woke up this morning and, Tracy Williams on here will be the first to tell you. I remember saying to her a few years ago, I'm like, y'all cannot be trusted. And she's built trust with me, right? Like, and so there are these wonderful women that we have in our lives, but they're a small group. They are not a large allyship, and that's going to be, in order for us to do like what we're talking about, these 10-year or 20-year plans, and we've got to start now. Like, this can't just be a conversation. This has to be action and activity, and we need our people. I saw Charles Malone on here. We need our Black men to be leaders for us in this community and help us to do this, help us to build this, not leave this all on the Black women to build it. We need leadership, and we've got to just do some things different. It's plain and simple. We absolutely cannot give another ounce of energy and any more of our money to those folks. We've got to start to do it different.
Yeah, I agree that. Tracy, I love that. And just, I'm going to shout out Tracy too. Tracy is such a great example of someone who, she was a friend of mine long before there was anything that she could gain from being a friend of mine. So I think too often there are white women who come into our lives who want to get something out of it. It's this transactional thing. And what I love about Tracy is Tracy was pouring into me when I was just a teacher. Long before I decided to run for office, Tracy was pouring into me. And so for the white women out there who don't have close Black women friends, you need to do that. You need to, if you say you're an ally, don't just show up for the cause, show up to relationship. show up
Mhm.
and invest in relationship and get to know us and get to know our children. Tracy knows my son,
Mhm.
and our sons are really similar in a lot of ways. But she knows my story. She knows my kids. She cares about that. She doesn't just care about me as a public speaker or as a former politician. But to the white women out there who want to help, don't just show up for the cause. Show up to us as humans first and
Mhm.
invest. And one of the things I told the firefighters in Canada on Monday is, if you want, by the way, I was in a room of 275 firefighters in Canada, all of British Columbia, all of their chiefs. There was one person of color and there were 10 women in that room.
Mm.
And one of the questions they asked me is, how do we make this room more diverse? I said, it's not a year thing. I can't give you the one solution. I'm going to give you the 10-year solution. You need to start building relationship with communities and build relationship and build relationship and build relationship and mentorship and train. And then,
Mhm.
and y'all need to check your own culture of
Mhm.
your stations, because
Mhm.
your culture is toxic. I already know
Mhm.
that. I don't even have to be in your station. I know.
And be willing to leave them behind, because what this will require for us to build this plan, this 20-year plan. I love Yvonne is on here too. Hi, Yvonne. What this will require of the white women is that they are going to have to learn to walk away, and
Yes.
it's painful. And I've known many white women that have told me stories about what's happened in their own families that they've had to walk away from because they want it to be on the right side of history, as the cliche, but they want it to do right by other people. And I don't think it's that difficult to show love towards other people and to care about that we can all feed our kids, and that we can when you need a ride to school, or our kid, like, we've got to have that kind of community. I even have a friend who has been talking to me about, and I texted her at 5:38 this morning, and I said, I think it's time we start talking about this again. But she has brought up to me several times about buying parcels of land and parceling it off and building community places where we
Mm,
can all live in a safe space, where we've got each other's back and their support, and we can share meals and families, and you don't have to live on top of each other, but we can all be in compounds, if you will, that we are cared for and looked out for and not hated. And so, these are the kind of thought processes and thinking power that we need now. We've got to start to figure out, how can we start to do these sorts of things, and what do we do with our children and our kids that are I've got a grandson, um and I don't think I can say that I'm expecting another grandchild here soon. I think I'm not supposed to be saying that publicly yet. But I have a reason for, wanting to make sure
yeah.
my children are fine. And, and all of our kids, like, all of our kids look different. Like, I'm scared when I saw Ted Cruz one last night. My kids are in
Yeah.
Texas. I took screenshots and I was showing them, like, this is a shit. You got to watch out down there. Don't, my daughter-in-law is Asian, and, like, all these things. Like, I don't want to have to live like this forever. I don't want to have to live in fear. I don't want my kids to have to live in fear.
Yeah.
We have to do some things different. Now, the woman who's coming on next week, she's an example. So I encourage you all next week to pop into and listen to what she's doing with her space, and how she's monetizing it, and how, we can learn from each other that way, about how we can make money and enjoy life at the same time. We don't have to have $10 million a month to live. We can do some things creatively. And I think we should explore this more and build a way to start to develop this and build this out. Now, to any of our legislators that are on here listening tonight, this is an important thing I think we need to talk about for legislative session, which is an allocation of some of those community funds to help us to be able to do this. And we don't have the luxury, with Trump being in office now, with $200 million and 10 homes and 10 people that it helps. We need a substantial investment into brown and black community to be able, I believe the education system is something that we got to tackle first and foremost. um, because are our kids going to even be safe in these schools anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I
I
mean,
want
it's
to
nuts that we're having this kind of a conversation.
I want to go back to something Lisa said in the chat, because I think it's really powerful and it's something I talk about in training all the time. So
Which one?
she said there's no word for I in the Samish language and Yakima as well. Yakima
Mhm.
Nation also that may be the same language. I'm not sure what the Yakima language is, but I learned that from my friend who's from the Yakima Nation. And the reality is that I really believe white people are dying for this as well. So I just want to name that I think this individualism and capitalism,
Mhm.
and Elon Musk is building a compound in Texas right now. He's building a compound for just his little tiny family, and he can't even spend all the money that he has. He can't even spend. And so I just want to offer to everyone watching that I actually think we are feeling the death right now in our communities, but white people are dying. You just can't see it. It's a silent death because
Mhm.
we were made to be in community. We were absolutely made to be in community and meant to be living in community. And I think far too many white people have been tricked into believing that independent spirit, being by yourself, doing it on your own is good, but this is not how we were created to be.
Exactly right. I just, thank you to there are names I don't recognize. Thank you for participating in this. It looks like this is a friend of Tracy's, and we've got to be in touch, Katie, and to all of us, to those who joined this tonight. This is how we start. Like, this is how we get. To your point, Aaron. Like, there are those women, the white women, who need this too. They're
Yes.
afraid. I have a good friend in Idaho. She might be on this tonight. I don't know. I don't want to name her out, but I know she watches it frequently, and I know she's afraid, and
Yeah.
afraid to piss off the husband, and afraid of the backlash. And again, I we talked about this last week. I don't have a husband. I don't want a husband. I'm because I don't want to be harmed by somebody, and so you know I'm saying all that to say that yes, it would be nice if there was somebody who treats you well, but I live in fear too because people are so nasty and mean spirited to particularly Black women that, I'm very cautious and careful with myself, how I carry myself, spaces I'm in, who
Hmm.
gets, I ordered this book this last week as something I want to read because I want to be able to share it. It's about money, about
Hmm.
how to multiply money. I want to be able to share that with the community. And the person sending it to me asked me for my phone number. I was like, nope. Like, I'm
Hmm.
so afraid to disclose. I mean, he could probably find it on the internet, but it's that kind of stuff where, we're living in society where we don't even feel safe. Not we can't. And now it's just going to be so much worse. So much worse.
Well, and one of the things I was telling someone a story last week about growing up in Europe in the 80s when, I mean, this in a lot of ways for me is not new. In the 80s, when Israel and Palestine were in conflict back then, as Americans, we were unsafe because there were terrorist organizations targeting Americans. And I remember I was a senior in high school, and 3 weeks before a tournament in Athens, Greece, there was a bomb that went off in a plane on its way from the Netherlands to Egypt, or no, to Greece. And we were supposed to be on a plane 3 weeks later. It was a terrorist attack, and all the parents were brought to school, and our coaches and the athletic director had to ask our parents, do we send our children to this tournament in Greece in 3 weeks? And I don't remember the meeting, but I remember really clearly my parents saying to me, we want you to live your life and not allow fear to drive you. Be wise, Aaron. Always be wise. And when you're in other countries, I got to be in 10 countries as a teenager. And I learned to be wise. I learned to always watch and be aware of my surroundings. But I never moved in fear. And we did go to that tournament in Greece that year as a 17-year-old kid.
Mm,
And I remember being on that plane thinking, is there someone here who could blow us up? I remember that really clearly.
mm,
I
mm,
know that fear. I can taste it now at 53. I can taste
mm,
that fear. And I feel like that's like I was prepared for this moment in that moment back when I was 16 and 17 and 18 years old. And I think we all have to be, it's not about walking in fear, but I don't ever go to Idaho without one of my white colleagues. I don't ever travel
Mhm.
to Idaho. And it's not about being afraid, it's about being wise. It's about being
Mhm.
smart about how I move through the world. And so I would encourage, those of you who are Black women who have to do things outside of your town, travel, have a partner that travels with you right now. Have a partner that
Mhm.
travels with you. I think that is just wise. If you can have someone who can drive you that you trust, drive. And for
Mhm.
the white women out there, if you have Black friends who have to travel for work, offer to be their driver. That's how I got my manager today, is someone who watched me when I ran for office, drive myself all over the place by myself. And she said, as a white woman, you know what, Erin, I don't feel safe and I don't even want you to pay me. I just want to drive you. And that's how I know that's a true friend. She drove
Do you
me
wanna do you wanna
probably,
know what you're referencing right now? You're referencing the Green Book.
yes, absolutely.
And
Mhm.
what just went through my mind is what Michelle Dotson was trying to do. I haven't heard from her in a while, but it might be worth reaching out to her. If you don't know, to the people who are listening, if you don't know what the Green Book is, do some homework on it. It's a map, if you will, of the safe routes to take when you're going across the country. This is back in my parents' era. I can tell you stories about. My sister usually watches the show, so I could tell stories about my sister and I sitting in the front seat of the car at night while my dad got a little bit of rest at nighttime with guns in our hands because we are a biracial family. And I had a Black father and a white mother, and we weren't safe as mixed children in the 60s to be in, go across country, and we were not welcome at gas stations to get gas. Like there's so much of history is repeating itself right now, but it's exactly what you're talking about, which is
Yep.
we are in a place right now where we have to start doing
Yes.
this work. We have to start, we've got to get the Green Book. Joy, I'm going to put you on point for that. Let's talk about that. Like let's get a hold of Michelle and see if we can start to do stuff like that. Because you're right, we can't go places alone. And did you see the numbers? Let's just talk about those of us who are here in Washington State. There were 1 million people that voted for Donald Trump here in the
Yep.
blue state here. So
Yes.
we're not safe, folks. Like, don't get it twisted. We're not safe here.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
We've been
interesting.
talking
I didn't
about
know
that.
that.
We've
I
been
had not
talking
heard
about
about
that. We've been talking about that down here in Thurston County, putting together a resource book that is like a green book.
it.
Um, And I think if we went community by community or county by county in Washington state and just had people say, who are the Black friendly businesses? Where are the Black friendly
Exactly.
restaurants and hotels and colleges? I'm going to throw this out too. I'm just going to add this to the list of things. I have been really passionate about this since the elimination of affirmative action. I
Hmm.
have really mixed emotions about that. And I'm sure I've said that on here at some point, but I believe that some colleges don't deserve our children
Hmm.
because even with affirmative action, they were taking the money from our children, but they were not serving them well. And
Hmm.
so the elimination of affirmative action, in some cases, for me, the colleges that want to do right will find a way to get our children and serve
Yes.
them anyway.
Yes.
But I think some of the colleges don't deserve our children and don't deserve our money because they're
Agreed.
not taking care of our children.
Agreed. I agree with that. Katie, I want to circle back with you. I don't know you, but it's nice to meet you here tonight. Thank you for joining us on the show tonight. I don't, Aaron, do you know Katie?
I don't know,
No.
Katie.
Maybe we might, if you're somebody who's resourceful, maybe you could help with this from the gay community and the pink pages. Like these are the kind of things, this is why we wanted to have the talk tonight, because we've got to be creative about what we do now and strategic about how we do it. And so we need people on point that will help us. My email is cindy@cindybright.com. Please feel free to email me and we can set up some time to talk. Like we just need your help and other people's help to start putting together resources and ways of navigating. And Joy, do you stay in contact with Michelle? Have you heard from her lately? Thank you, Katie, for saying that. if not, I can call Michelle and see if she's interested in trying to do that, because she had started that work. And I think it's critical now that we start.
Hmm.
And again, we should be able to raise, this is an example of a way that we can make money in our communities too, right? We can ask for, public money right now. Like, let's start to do that. Let's figure out
Yep.
how we do that, to get money to fund this, so that if Michelle can spend some time putting that together, this is how we make money and take care of ourselves and our community. Exactly why we wanted to have the show tonight, because we can't, it's tough and it's not easy to navigate, to live in a society like this. But this is what our families did to make it through these tough times. And this is the kind of stuff that we need to do too.
And I want to share a perspective too about self-care. So I was on TikTok for a little bit today, and there was a Black woman that I heard right at the beginning of the day today who said, we got to be right back on it, and we got to, don't lay your feet off the gas. You got to get right in it. And I guess I would offer a couple different perspectives. I think our context matters. So for some of you out there, you have the capacity right now to put your foot on the gas and go and get things started and go. There are others of us, like I got to sit in a hospice room tomorrow and watch my mother-in-law. I don't have capacity right now, but that's why we need community. So you got to know, when is your season to rest? We all need a season to rest. We can't just go.
Correct.
We've got to know, when do I pass the baton to Cindi? When does Cindi pass the baton to Joy? When does Joy pass the baton to Katie? And we have to be talking to one another, and being in a relationship allows you to know when somebody has capacity and when someone doesn't have capacity. Too often we're not in relationship, and then we make assumptions about why this person isn't showing up. But if we're in relationship, we know what people are walking through, and we know when I can call on Cindi and when I need to call her to check on
Yes.
her, right?
Yep. And that you have done
And
for
you've done the
sure.
same for
Yeah.
me, and you've done the same for me. Yeah. This is
Recognize
what
the silence.
sisterhood, yeah,
That's
this is what
exactly right.
sisterhood is about.
Exactly. And this is what we want, to build, I guess, if you will, and, get through if there's bumpiness or disagreements, like, let's sort those things out so that we can be in community. We need each other. And it's not an if, it's a when. The X is going to fall in your life, particularly with a tyrant who's leading the country. And so we each are going to need each other to depend on for something. And so this is a great start. I'm glad we decided to have this conversation tonight, Erin. I was like, when I texted you this morning, I'm like, it's up to you. If you want to go,
Yeah.
we can. Because I was just, I don't know. I had a moment where I was like, screw all of this. Like, I'm just tired of trying to make progress on something that we just beat our heads. But you know what? We're smarter than them. We all know that. And so they need and want our money. That's all this. They want our money. And so if we keep our money from them and within our communities and build the kind of things we need, does anybody here have a facility or know of a facility that we can maybe plan, a get together where we can map? You have a facility we can do it
We
at?
do. I am a co-owner of the only cultural center south of Tacoma. It is in Tumwater, so it's near our state capital.
Okay.
We can host anything there. It's got all Black women on the wall. So the painting that you see behind me right
Yeah.
here, all of the artwork is that it's a space that was designed to be inclusive. The queer community is welcome, the Muslim community, the Christian community, the Black community, but it was designed for exactly
Okay.
this.
Then this is exactly what we need to do, is to set something up where we do, my corporate language would say a strategic planning session, but we need a way that we start, even if it's just putting the boxes
Yeah.
together of education and who's on point for this, the green book, the pink sheet, like who's going to do what, and start trying to get those things put together. And we got to figure out a way for the money to flow. So we need to find somebody who is excellent at financial projections, like just a way to help put money in get the money in our community so that we know that if somebody, Lisa just said we are smarter. It's right. We can do this and we can get ourselves through a difficult time where he can do whatever he thinks he's capable of doing. We know he's not capable of it. And it'll take him T minus 30 days to start regurgitating his staff to where. So, what is it like? Let the chips fall with him, because the only way change is ever going to happen is you just have to let that explode, just let it implode, and let the 53% who voted for him. I don't wish harm on anybody, but you will reap what you sow. And so you stay with that and be a part of him and all that sort of stuff while we built something bigger, better, and greater. Tulsa was a great example of that in the 20s on what the community did there. And they were a thriving community. If you don't know about what happened in the Tulsa massacre, when the Elon Musks of the world got jealous because the community went and built our own stuff. And it was a very um, exclusive community, like not, it was exclusive. The photos of the people dressed up in their nice gigs, the churches, like all the things that were there for our communities, teaching for education. Like there is a way that we can do this where we don't have to depend on those kind of folks for our livelihood. We can create our own. And for those of us who are faith people, we know the King of Kings and that we will be provided for when we're taking care of each other. And so I'm down for that. I think this was a good starting point tonight, Erin. What do you think?
So yes, and I have another thought about him, the tyrant,
Okay.
and his cabinet. Here's my thought. So Jesse Jones is my brother-in-law. So if you all know
Mhm.
who Jesse is, he's no longer with Cairo News because they let him go, y'all. So they let their two black front-facing people go. Cairo News did. So I would encourage all y'all to stop watching Cairo News. But anyway, that's for another day. But Jesse and I were talking about this tonight before I left the nursing home. I think because Trump is a narcissist and he has to always be the center of attention, I think he's going to struggle with him and Elon and Charlie Kirk and
Mhm.
Tucker Carlson and all of that crew. I think what's going to happen is they're going to fight amongst each other. I
Mhm.
think this is what's going to happen. I think they're going to struggle to get anything done because they all have to be front and center. They all have to be the
Mhm.
star. And I think that's to our advantage. And so we have got to really fight for
Yep.
community and fight to work alongside. No,
Yep.
Joyce is with King 5 News. So Jesse was with Cairo. He was at King 5, but he's been at Cairo. And then
Mm.
the other thing I wanted to mention, I had not thought about this. Um, on Saturday afternoon, we actually have our 3-year anniversary at the Cultural Center. So I'm going to put the address in the chat. If you are interested in joining us, we would love to have you come check out the Cultural Center. And our whole purpose is to serve community. So if you are anywhere near Tumwater, come on Saturday night. We're going to be talking about all of this stuff. I mean, this is
Well,
our
you
whole
know
point
what?
for the center.
You know
Yeah.
what, Erin? So this is so funny because I didn't think to ask you as I'm looking at, because I'm going to comment about something, because Zenda Hall, if you're still on here, um, like we need more media, and I'm your media here, right? So we can just let go. This can be the central point of information that comes out and a way that we can engage with each other. But Erin knows I've been looking for a different venue to host HeartBeat from for next year. I had this whole plan in place for with Kamala Harris in office. And then I woke up this morning and I thought, I'm done with HeartBeat. And then I'm like, no, I'm not done with it because we're just getting started. So maybe that's the space, that cultural
Mm,
space that I can do it from, where
yeah.
we just have our community. And so that is this Saturday night. Let's see, Joy's asking that too. This Saturday
Yep,
night.
it is this Saturday. So what I'm going to do is go find the link on Facebook and I'll put it into the chat here. So it's at the
Okay.
Osho Cultural Center, but I'm going to find the link on their website and I will put it in the chat for
Okay.
everybody.
I see Mr. Palms is on here. Hi, Palms, how are you doing tonight? We wanted to ask, he's one of our brothers in the community. Are you doing okay? I'll let him. And here's the information that Aaron is sharing.
Hold on a minute. Copy and paste the Eventbrite link here. Just a second. And then everybody has it. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or if you have questions. But there, I just put in the chat.
Okay.
I put the link.
Okay. Perfect.
We'd
See,
love to have you all there. We would love to have you
isn't
all
this
there.
wonderful how things turn out, right? Like, you try to create harm to people, but again, you can't create harm in somebody's life without receiving misery in yours. So go ahead and put your team together while we build our communities in a way that, let's see, Tracy just asked, can we Venmo some support for the event, Aaron?
Yes. So Tracy, I will put my Venmo and I can just pass it along to Krishita. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Tracy. And if anybody else wants to help with that, I'll plan on coming Saturday night too. Joy, are you going to plan on going this Saturday? We can talk about that. Let's just go be a part of starting to build this. I'll put some thoughts together about hosting a conversation on what we can start to do. And this is just wonderful. Thank you for that offer, Aaron. I think this is such a great idea.
See, God knows the timing. He knows that
Uh-huh.
I didn't know when I came here tonight that this was the timing, but God knows the timing.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna find.
Woohoo. Well, this will be really good. And so that at least maybe we can sleep in a little bit of peace. I know I didn't sleep really good last night.
I did not either.
Yeah. Yes, Joy, let's invite other people to come. Like, we need to build this community. We need to build it out. And so we need to put together our thoughts about what it is we're trying to do and how we're thinking about it. And so I'm going to at least make a list or a graph or something that we can talk from to, let's see what Lisa says. Okay. Lisa says she'll talk to some people in Olympia about this. So, and I'm going to look at, well, let's get this, I'll be thinking about this. I'm going to say some prayers about this because this is a really good idea for what we want to do here to get let's just pull our resources together here and let's look out for each other here. That's what we got to do. Period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Please invite anyone that you think would be willing to be an ally. So think about people who have resources, right? So I am not shy about asking for resources from people anymore. So if you really want to be an ally, put your money where your mouth is. That's just what I believe. So if you know of some people who are feeling really bad about how the vote turned out, who have money, tell them to show up on Saturday, and let's get them in the room.
And I just want to say something I think is important, that there are many people who want to use the title of an ally. And I mean brown and black and white. But their behaviors outside of the room are not conducive to being an ally. And so I'm just going to put that out there that be careful about how wide you open the circle up, because many people will look at things like this as opportunistic and a way to get something. And that's not what we want to have in this kind of a space. If this is a community building that we want to make sure we're looking out for everybody's needs, I'm just putting that out there. That's an important thing because self-awareness is very hard to find in people. I mean, I'm just saying that there are many people who, like we started out saying, smile on the face, but knife in the back at the same time. And you got to be careful about that. And it's not always apparent. It's not always apparent at the beginning stages, but people look for it as a way to try to get something. So just pay attention to that, folks, when you're inviting people into a circle like that, because it can become toxic very quick.
So I put all the information in the chat, but there's an Eventbrite. So that link is also in there. if you struggle to find the Eventbrite link, I will repost it on my Facebook. I will post it on LinkedIn tonight. So when we get off this call, I'll make sure that I do a post on LinkedIn and a post on Facebook, a post on Instagram, so that if you just find me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll make sure Cindi is tagged.
Okay. Boy, this was a lot better than I expected tonight. I
feel hopeful.
I was going to say, I feel hopeful, right? Like, it's like,
yeah.
I was like thinking, how are we going to make it through 4 years of this, man? And should I just go under and not even, just scrub my name off the internet? Like, I don't even want to be associated. But you know what? We can just change things for the better. And so, maybe this is what, God intended was to shift society, or as Dr. J would say, rebuild society. And so this is rebuilding society where we're looking out for people. So, woohoo. Well, thank you all for joining with us tonight to have this conversation. Feel free. I see people are dropping. Feel free to reach out to Erin or myself. We'll get this all posted. I'm glad that we have some sort of a game plan within 24 hours. We here in Washington State are going to make some changes for the better for our community, and we are not going to let his actions or his behaviors affect us at all. So I appreciate all of you joining tonight. So yeah, Yvonne, thank you for that comment. She says individual is careful about who joins. It's an important thing we got to make sure we pay attention to. Anywho, thank you all for joining tonight. We look forward to seeing you all on Saturday evening. Thank you very much, Lisa and Erin. So from Katie, so I appreciate you. We appreciate all of you. We are going to sign off for the evening, so we will see you on Saturday. Have a good evening, everybody.
Half that up in sacks, I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah.